Hello and welcome. My name is Lizzie and today I am going to be demonstrating some vegan American style pancakes. So normally in pancakes, especially in American fluffy ones, I use eggs and milk. Obviously we're not going to use those today, but we are going to produce the same delicious result of a really fluffy light pancake as if we were making them non-vegan, but these are gorgeous. So what we're going to be using today is we're going to use some self-raising flour, a touch of salt, some baking powder to get that all essential rise, some good quality vanilla extract and oat milk, and a little bit of Castor Sugar. It's a really simple, easy to make recipe. You can do this for brunch with friends. I mean, to be honest, it's quick enough to do in the morning for breakfast before the school run or before work. I've tried a couple of different ways of doing it, and the recipe that I've landed on, my daughter, who's 7, said, "Mum, this is better than the normal American pancakes. Can we just make this one from now on?" So that was me knowing that it was the right one to do. So what we're going to do is, first things first, I'm using some digital scales. If you've got digital scales, they're a lot better because you want precision when you're baking. So I'm going to put my scales on and I'm going to put them onto grams. Change that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh out 125 grams of self-raising flour. Now this flour is pre-sifted, but let's call it force of habit. I always sift it again anyway. I always think there's no harm in an extra sift. 115, 122, there we go, 126, that's fine. So I've got my self-raising flour here, and then to this we're going to add our Castor Sugar and our salt and our baking powder. So there we go, 125 grams of self-raising flour, and then I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of Castor Sugar. Try and make sure they're fairly level tablespoons of Castor Sugar. You don't want like a great big hulking, you don't need that amount of sugar in it. Fairly level Castor Sugar. I'm going to add just a couple of grinds of salt. My youngest asked me a while ago, why do you add salt sometimes to your cakes or your bakes or whatever you're making? And I explained that just like savoury food needs seasoning, quite often sweet food does as well. So it might seem a bit odd to put salt in, but it adds to the flavour. And then I'm going to do 1 teaspoon, sorry, not tablespoon, of baking powder. The baking powder is what gives us that really nice rise. So give that a little mix, make sure it's all well stirred, and then set that to the side. Now in our glass jug, I mean, I could look at the measurements on the side, but I'm actually going to measure it out on the scales because I want it to be just right. So for this, I'm going to use 150 millilitres. So let me just get that back to 0. And I'm going to use 150. Oh, 112. It's quite easy to go over. 150, perfect. And then just to add for that bit of extra sweetness, I'm going to put in just 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Good quality vanilla extract is very sweet. Give that a little stir. You don't need very much of it, but it does boost the flavour. And I mean, I tried out this recipe with using different plant-based milks, and I think the oat milk is the nicest because I think it gives the nicest flavour. I personally, out of all the plant-based milks you can get, prefer the oat one. That one would be my preference. Okay, so now I'm going to add all my wet to my dry. I'm going to make a little well in the middle. You can use a big whisk if you want. I find it easier just to use a little whisk. So I'm just going to slowly start to pour it in and whisk as I go. Now, the glass bowl is going to spin. It's just going to happen. But it's okay, go with it, because you want to keep pulling in from the sides your flour. And then once you've got all of that oat milk and vanilla in there, you can then hold on to it and start whisking in the rest of the edges. Okay, make sure you give it a good whisk. You don't want to have really lumpy batter. There we go. So that now is looking, let me show you properly. I get a little spatula. This now is looking really nice. I can see already from the reaction with the bicarb, it's starting to get some little air holes. You can start to see them in the top. So if you want to leave that to stand for say 10 minutes or so, let the mixture just develop a little bit, you can. Or you can go straight in to your frying pan. So we'll go over there now. Okay, so I'm over on the hob now and I've got a non-stick pan on. I've got it on the lowest I can possibly set it. So the flame's only really small. If you have it too hot, you're just gonna burn your pancakes. So keep it low. I've got a little bit of sunflower oil in there as well, probably the equivalent of about a teaspoon. And then if you can see the batter is already got quite a lot of air bubbles in it, which is perfect. That's what we want because we want the mixture to puff up and do really nice American style pancakes. So I've got this funny ladle spoon. It's the equivalent of 2 tablespoons worth. That's what you're going for per pancake. So I'm just gonna put 1 level ladle in. And you can just give it a little spread with the back of your spoon if you want to. So I'm going to do 3 at a time. So 1, 2, little spread around, and 3. Now, I have found with this vegan version of American pancakes that I think they actually cook a little bit quicker. So don't take your eye off them when they're cooking. I've got a little spatula here, which is what I'm going to use just to lift them up. Now, there's little air bubbles popping all over the top of them. That's perfect. That is what you want to see. And once you see more and more bubbles coming, you can start to just carefully lift the edge, and you can see it's going from very pale to golden on the underneath. These will probably take about a minute before I want to flip them over. And I have found with these, they tend to stay a bit runnier on top when you're flipping them. So sometimes you might just want to place a clean finger on part of it to help you flip it over. I'll show you in a sec. But these, oh, that's perfect. So they're going such a nice golden brown colour because I've kept my heat really low. So it feels like, oh, I should have them hotter because they want to cook fast. But all you're going to do is burn the underneath and have a raw, not very nice centre. So this one here, and this one. Let's see, this was the first one I put in. So it's quite loose on the top, so I'm just gonna put my thumb on it, turn it, perfect. See? Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same with my second one. I'll just pop a finger on there and turn it over, and the same with the third. Okay, I'm just gonna give my finger a quick wipe. Now, these look delicious. They are that golden, puffy, the golden colour, they've puffed up, they've got lovely aeration bubbles in them. So I've got 3 on here. These will take another minute, then they'll be ready. Now, 2 ways that I would serve them. You can either be the person who stays at the hob and continually makes them, dishing them out to people, or you can start to put them on a plate, cover them in foil and put them in the oven. And then you can create a whole stack of them and sit down and all enjoy them together, which is actually what I prefer to do because I don't like to be the person who's continually at the hob, which often happens. So let's have a look now. Oh, perfect. Absolutely gorgeous. So let's do this one first. Turn it over. I've got that gorgeous golden colour on top. So if I put this mix over here, show you these ones here. And the second one I did, again, perfect. And flip over that third one, gorgeous. Okay, so that's our pancakes. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fry off the rest of these, do another 3, and then I'm gonna show you a couple of options for toppings. Okay, so now is the fun bit. You've got all your pancakes made. I had them warming in the oven, so each time I did 3 more, I added them to my pile in the oven. That batter that I showed you will make 8 or 9 pancakes. So if there's 2 or 3 of you, that should be plenty. If there's more, I would double the batter. So we've got some toppings here. We've got, if you have 2 pancakes, we've got some really nice organic maple syrup. You could have the classic of a little bit of Castor Sugar with a squeeze of lemon. I mean, that is one of my kids' favourites. Or Or if you wanted to, you could have a couple of pancakes. You could take some fresh fruit, a few raspberries, a couple of blueberries or whatever you fancy, and then sprinkle with a little bit of icing sugar. And again, maple syrup is always going to be a winner with this combination, which I haven't actually opened. So we've got some maple syrup. Another thing you can do is with vegan dark chocolate and vegan white chocolate, you can cut it up into chunks. So you can have 2 more here. You could chop it up into little chunks and just let it melt on there. These are warm, but they haven't, they've been out a couple of minutes now, so they won't melt as quickly. So you could do some nice chocolate on them. There's so many options that you can do for pancake toppings. Just have a little think what your favourite things are. If you really want something to replace what would be the equivalent of squirty cream, you can use creamed coconut. You can whip it up and use that instead, which is really nice. I'm just going to put a little bit of maple syrup on this one. On there. Delicious. So there you have it. These are our vegan American style pancakes. I hope you really enjoyed the recipe and you'll have a go.